So, ich begrüße Sie alle, heiße Sie herzlich. In the breaks I speak German, that is why sometimes I have a hard time to switch into English. So I welcome you all back to our session. And I can hear that you had very intensive exchange of ideas. And I hope that they were fruitful, I'm sure, because if I can look here at these plates, then I can see that you have worked quite intensively. So I would like to call the rapporteurs, who might be identical with the facilitators or other persons, in front. Please go to your table. You call this table? No. The board. The board. Please, I would call you just one after the other. Group 1, 2, 3, 4. Please come in front and choose your board.
Or without a board if you want.
Or without, yeah. But please come in front and all the four. And I would like to ask you to present the highlights from the workshop session. You know, not reporting what you have done, but just tell us the three highlights. In German, we could say the light towers. You know, that they shine into the room, but shine into our live stream and shine to me so that I can carry it to New York next week. Yeah. No pressure at all. No, just be relaxed. But you should know in which environment and global context we have to see all these results that we are eager to hear now. So, links in global goals and commitments. Please, and also introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Tori Timms. I'm from WaterAid, and I was part of Group 1, which focused on global goals and commitments, very capably led by Lawrence. And I was very inspired by Katerina, and I've gone for 4 rather than 3 points.
Which is fine.
Yeah. We looked at action areas rather than focusing on problems. And we made 4 recommendations, and they were grouped around where we had common interest between the 2 sectors. So the first area of common interest was we're all working towards the same goal of public health. So why not look at the SDG framework, the goals, targets, and indicators, and create a package of the sort of global health targets and indicators, and use those as a structure with which to work together to get to those outcomes that we want to see. The second area that we looked at, the second area of common interest, was around this need to tackle inequalities. And we were thinking that the first problem and the first thing we must overcome is the data gaps. So we thought that we would like to support or build on existing data collection and monitoring systems, and in particular we're looking at the DHS and MICS. And we were saying that the 2 sectors could support these initiatives and help them to sort of tackle and plug some of those data gaps to enable better convergence. The third area of common interest was a joint entry point. So we were thinking about where do they overlap naturally? And the one we could think of was adolescent girls and schools. So WASH programs often take place in schools because we're worried about menstrual hygiene management, about kids getting sick and missing school, and it's also an excellent entry point for nutrition and young girls. So we were thinking maybe that's our opportunity, and actually the global framework on sustainable development offers that opportunity with an indicator on WASH and education. So maybe that's our opportunity and our starting point. And our 4th common area of interest was around accountability. So we all agree that we need to see our governments, our donors being held to account. And we think that we need to have, in first place, an analysis of standing commitments, so what's already out there, and how they link between the 2 sectors. And then we need to think about how we can explore the potential of maybe doing some joint accountability, joint monitoring of those commitments. So you also have our board, which covers slightly different things, more of the discussion, because it was a really interesting, rich discussion. But those were our 4 key recommendations.
Well, thank you very much. Great. Well, a round of applause, please. Yeah, because these are points that also, for me, are very important, and I know what I'm going to carry in my backpack. Group number 2, knowledge research and learning demand.
Okay, great. So, yeah, group 2 was around knowledge, research, and learning. So I kind of grouped our discussion into 3 kind of key areas around mainly the evidence and our discussion on the evidence, then looking at what the challenges are, and then some solutions and ways forward. So a lot of the, well, we started the discussion about whether we needed more research or we needed to use the evidence better on the links between WASH and nutrition. And there was a general consensus amongst the group that we need both. So, sorry. So we have enough existing evidence, and the rationale is very strong to link the two. And along with ongoing RCTs, so the WASH benefits and the SHINE trial that are coming out, will add to this evidence base. But then there's this issue of us not using the evidence and making it more accessible to people, and critically the need for more implementation research. So that leads me on to my second kind of summary, which is around some of the challenges. So we talked a lot about the challenges of operational implementation research. So it's a challenge bringing together sort of organizations, NGOs, and academics. They're often motivated by different interests and different motivations. So research is often not built into these programs. And critically, the impact of health is often difficult to measure in short-term development projects and programs. So these are some of kind of the main challenges, along with some challenges with the kind of structural issues, which we've talked about a lot today, but sectors under different ministries, in countries, organizations, and donors as well. And yeah, so then moving on to kind of some of the solutions and ways forward that we talked about. So some quick wins could be aligning monitoring systems, so aligning monitoring across different programs, and developing research into projects right from the start. And then we also had a lot of discussion around the behavior change elements, which are often neglected from projects. So kind of WASH is very dependent on contextual factors, particularly around cultural, religious factors. So how can we include these into programs? And that kind of brings in the elements around the need for more qualitative research and involving end users. That's the main summary.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Group number 3, potential sector collaboration.
Yes, in our group, we had a couple of very interesting best case examples from South Sudan, from Burkina Faso, and from Yemen, among others, and from several grassroots organizations. And we discussed a large number of topics, and in the end, we prioritized them, and then I clustered them a little bit. And it's an interesting result, I think, because in the gaps, what we found, there is one cluster, one issue that was very highly prioritized was disruption through different budget lines. So integrated approaches may have taken place in the past and were disrupted because the targets already in the MDGs were so sectoral. And in the ministries, you have different budget lines, so different budget lines are really a difficult point to overcome. And another key bottleneck which relates to this was then competition for funding. So competition for funding is one thing that keeps us from collaborating. Another key gap that was identified was how to measure outcome. And I think it relates nicely with one of the key potentials that were prioritized, which was outcome health impact. Yeah. So there was kind of a strong consensus that there was worth in measuring the health impact, but then when it comes to exactly how should it be measured, there's still many challenges in order to avoid other problems, other risks that have to be avoided. So there's work there. And a very highly rated card in terms of potentials and synergies is more on the way how to work. And this was, I think, strongly felt by many people in the group, that it is about building consensus, not merging the two sectors, not having one sector dominate the other, not having one only as an input factor to the other, but really build a consensus. So this is about how we work with each other.
Well, thank you very much. Again, a very rich report. The humanitarian group, Josephine.
Okay, like many of you, we had a lot of discussion, and it's a long list. We looked through the gaps and the constraints and the opportunities and synergies, suggestions that we came up with. But in the interest of time, I would have typed this out already. I'll give it to the, but we highlighted key points which we thought will be important for you to hear, but the rest would be written up, I guess, yeah. So the first constraint our group identified is the lack of evidence linking acute malnutrition to, good WASH services. As you saw from Lauren's, presentation, the link between stunting, which is chronic undernutrition, and WASH services has been established in a number of assessments and researches, but nothing has been done for acute malnutrition, which we think is a huge gap, because without that convincing evidence, then it becomes difficult to make that linkage. The next one, which we thought is key, is around within the humanitarian setting at country level or even at global level. Ideally, we are supposed to have an overarching OCHA intercluster framework, which brings us together at global level to define the framework within which we work, guidance which can be provided to countries. At country level, our response plan is supposed to link to this big picture that we are all achieving, but that system is not working. Yeah. So we are saying that is really a big challenge, but it's not just up to OCHA. It's also up to the global cluster coordination team, the partners, to ensure that the intercluster framework, how should it look like, and so on, should be defined, and then we support countries to do a good job in that. So we thought that is an area where we thought we should highlight to you. The other is more it's both are linked. Intercluster coordination week within cluster, but also within the OCHA, or the overall coordination framework. And finally, we also thought one point which we should highlight is that there is this incentive on convergence. Like, why are we not being punished by donors? I don't know whosoever it is, but why are we not being made accountable if we are not really integrating or making the convergence work? Yeah. So what we said is that there's this incentive on convergence as each sector reports to on its own targets. For example, if WASH and nutrition are doing this great work on sanitation and promotion through systems at community level, we are linking with the health worker who is the frontliner, delivering all these messages. Why do we say that, in nutrition we delivered XYZ messages and we targeted this, and then in WASH again, and we report it to him, the donor up there, different figures. Why? Yeah, so we said that. And then, in terms of the opportunities and the synergies, we thought, for us, the key here is the starting point, is joint needs assessment, but also the causal analysis, which gives us a good basis for the interventions. And then Jamie, is it this one or this one? He's very far anyway. I'll just make a decision. Yeah, it's it's this, the WASH assessments to include nutrition-specific indicators. I mean, we have there's the aspect of joint assessment, but if it's not possible and there's a WASH assessment and so on, can we also include some indicators which can be collected, which can help us then build on that joint work together? And then we have something, the number 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah. And the use of nutrition data as an entry point for targeting nutrition-sensitive intervention. And we said there were good examples in Sahel, in Somalia, where, you know, because we had really good data from FSAU, we were able to then use that for WASH and food security to be targeted in a given one community. So, you know, using that as entry point. And finally, you will not be able to see it, but I know where it is, and I'm going to spot it here. It's the sun movement. The coordination structure which is being established through the sun movement is such that it's at a very good level, inter-ministerial, sectoral. Yeah, so using that as an entry point. Finish. Yeah, it's done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Well, thank you very much. I have to request that I would need this tomorrow evening at the latest in an email that I can.
You're laughing. You have to
yeah.
work perhaps.
Because well, I scribbled it down, but I have to have it in a good language so that I can use it at the World Toilet Day. Yeah, because the topic is WASH and nutrition. Yeah, so that is why I'm very pleased. Yeah, to get very good ideas out of this and carry it further. Okay, so
before everyone sort of runs away later, for those people rapporteuring back from those different groups, please do see our staff at dinner time later to make sure we have those precise wordings for you. That would be excellent.